Today, I will be focusing on the topic of cohesion and coherence, which are essential for understanding and analyzing a text. I will answer these questions using a text from Cambridge Academic 17. What is cohesion? What is coherence? And how to improve cohesion and coherence? So now, why do we need to know about cohesion and coherence? Well, because they help you understand the texts better in IELTS, and therefore we can answer the questions quickly. Besides, this knowledge helps you in your writing to write more coherent and cohesive essays. So this passage is about London, and we will explore the different ways that makes it cohesive and coherent. So first, what is coherence? Well, it means that everything in the story or in the text you're writing or you're reading makes sense and fits together nicely like a puzzle. This puzzle analogy helps us a lot here. Well, it's like when you tell a story to your friends and all the parts connect and follow each other smoothly. So when a story has coherence, it's easy to understand and enjoy. And it's like having a clear path to follow from the beginning to the end. Let's read an example. Sarah studied hard for her IELTS test and got high scores. She went shopping, watched TV, jogged, and played video games. So obviously this story lacks coherence and cohesion. Why? Because the events are randomly connected and do not form a logical sequence. And also, the focus on the successful IELTS student is lost. The first sentence, which is the topic actually here, which is about Sarah as a successful student, and unrelated events are introduced without any connection or relevance to the main topic, which is Sarah as a successful IELTS student. Now, let's make it better. Read the second sample. You can pause the video and find out why this is a better sample. Of course, it's longer, but in terms of cohesion and coherence. Now, let's analyze the sample. This story obviously exhibits coherence and cohesion. Why? Because it presents a clear and logical sequence of events and focusing on Sarah's dedication, study efforts, and subsequent achievements as a successful IELTS student. As you've noticed, each event connects to the main theme, which is about Sarah and her success, and contributes to the overall narrative, creating a well-connected story. Now, let's look at the coherence of the text I mentioned earlier. This is a text from IELTS Academic 17, Test 1, Reading Passage 1. It's about London. So there are different elements that improve the coherence of a text. The first one is chronological ordering in this text. Chronological ordering refers to arranging ideas or events in order in which they occurred or should be presented. Well, in simple language, it means that those things that happened are in order from beginning to end, or in the order that make the most sense for the reader. So in this text, the text follows the development of London Underground in a historical timeline. The events are presented in a logical sequence. So what happened first, then to the final stage. The second point is about cause and effect relationship here. The congestion and growth of London's population, the cause here, led to the need for a solution to traffic problems, resulting in the construction of their underground railway. So in other words, it's logical to mention why they needed the railway and then the effect of that on the society. And the last point is about problem-solution structure, which is quite similar to the previous one. The text highlights the issues of congestion and proposes the solution of building an underground railway to resolve or to solve the problem. So I think these three elements are enough here to know about the coherence of this text. Now let's move on to cohesion. Well, remember the puzzle example we talked about earlier? So we said that all puzzles should fit, right? Now you can consider cohesion as the glue that holds the puzzle pieces together, right? So this helps the reader understand how everything connects and keeps the story nice and smooth. So cohesion is about using words, sentences, and ideas to connect everything and make it flow well. It's also like using special words or signals to show how different parts of the story are related. Now, in short, coherence is about the story making sense or the text making sense as a whole, and cohesion is about connecting the different parts of the story or the text and making it easy to read and understand. Now, how to improve cohesion and what elements are there actually to improve it? Well, there are two main categories. The first one, lexical cohesion, which in simple language means vocabulary, and grammatical cohesion. So the first one, lexical cohesion or vocabulary, there are main four parts: collocations, synonyms, antonyms or opposites, and hyponym, words from one main group. I will explain that later. And on the grammatical side, we have reference, substitution, ellipsis or deletion, and conjunction. Don't worry, I will explain them all using the examples from the text. So the first one, collocations. You know that collocations are words that go together. They're friends and are always together. I've made different videos on collocations in reading texts that you can watch later. In this paragraph that I've chosen from the text, we have good collocations. Population grew, astonishing rate, the central area became increasingly congested, the expansion of, overground railway network, consisted of poorly built, overcrowded slums, and horse-drawn traffic. And if you've noticed, all of these words are somehow connected in terms of meaning and contribute to the main topic of the paragraph. Now, the second part is synonyms. In this short paragraph, we have three synonyms: scheme, plan, and proposal, that are used interchangeably to avoid repeating the same word. This is another way that you can use to improve the cohesion of your text. Next, we have antonyms or opposites. In this example from the text, we have the word allow and reject as opposites. Well, this is another way to improve cohesion. And the next part, we have hyponym. In simple language, hyponyms are words or phrases that belong to a broader or bigger category or concept. For example, consider fruit. This is the big category. And in that, we have apple, orange, banana, and other types of fruit, right? So fruit is the bigger part, and apple, orange, and banana belong to fruit, to this category actually. So in the text, we have railway network, and overground railway network, underground railway, they're all different types of railway network. Another one, legal professional. So solicitor is a type of a legal professional, and also trains, the main category here. We have trains, and as you can see, we have steam locomotives and carriages as different types of trains. So this form of presenting words that belong to the same category or group or family also can increase the cohesion of the text. So we've worked on lexical cohesion, again, vocabulary and words. We talked about the examples of collocations, synonyms, opposites, and hyponyms in the text. Now let's focus on grammatical cohesion. First up, we have reference. Well, reference means mentioning or pointing back to something that was previously mentioned or introduced. Let's look at this example. The Rural Commission decided that the railways should not be allowed to enter the city, the capital's historic and business center. The result was that the overground railway stations formed a ring around the city. So the word result here refers back to the decision made by the Rural Commission, indicating or showing the consequence or the result of their decision. So instead of repeating the whole thing after the result, we only have the result that refers back to that part of the text. There are actually two subcategories to reference that I'm going to talk about briefly. One, using pronouns, and two, using demonstratives. Don't worry, again, I'm going to explain briefly. A pronoun is a word that is used in place of a noun. It helps avoid repetition by referring to someone or something that has already been mentioned. Now, look at this example. Charles Pearson, who worked as a solicitor for the City of London, saw both social and economic advantages in building an underground railway. he saw it as a solution to London's traffic problems. So here the word he, the pronoun actually, is used to refer back to Charles Pearson, and also the pronoun it is used to refer to the Underground Railway to avoid repetition. The second point is demonstratives, is a word that points to or identifies someone or something. Look at this example. The overground railway stations formed a ring around the city. Those within consisted of poorly built, overcrowded slums. So those here refers to the underground railway stations that formed a ring around the city, right? So this simple word refers back to the whole sentence before it. And also we have another one here, the overground railway. So this shows that the writer is referring to a particular set of overground railway stations, and in this case, the ones that formed a ring around the city. It also implies that this point has been mentioned earlier, and the reader knows what system the writer is referring to. So next part we have substitution. Substitution means using a word or phrase to replace or stand in for another word or phrase that has been mentioned. Read this example. All right, here at the end of the paragraph we have such a radical and expensive scheme and so on. So the phrase such a radical and expensive scheme is used as a substitution for the plan mentioned in the previous sentence. So the writer, in order to avoid repeating the whole part about the plan, just simply used this phrase, such a radical and expensive scheme, to avoid the whole part. So next part we have ellipsis or deletion. It simply means to delete or remove words or parts of a sentence without changing its meaning. Another example, you can read it for yourself. All right, here we have the word instead. The phrase the original plan is omitted, is deleted in this part, as it is clear from the context that the plan being referred to is the one mentioned in the previous sentence. So instead of repeating the phrase the original plan, just simply the writer used instead. Now let's look at the last point, conjunctions. You're already, I think, familiar with them. These are used to connect words, phrases, or sentences together. They help to show how different parts of a sentence or ideas are related to each other. You can see 3 different examples from the text and their conjunctions. Here we have and, however, and also which in the last phrase. So the point is, I focused on cohesion and coherence because by analyzing them, we can see how the author connects ideas using cohesive devices and presents information in a logical and coherent manner. This allows the readers to understand the development of the text more quickly, which is very important during the IELTS reading test. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you could use the same knowledge in order to improve the cohesion and coherence of your own writing essays. All right, hope you found it useful. Have a nice day.